Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. Welcome back to the channel. Commenting on Israel's attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon a few days ago. It was the 17th of September, if memory serves. Now, Israel has not actually said it was them, but it's almost universally assumed that it was Israel. It's a racing certainty that Israel was behind this. And Hezbollah, meaning the party of God, is a Shia militia in Lebanon, which is armed and funded by Iran. I know the Israelis and many others regard Hezbollah as a terrorist organization, and it's obviously very tedious to trot out the old adage that one man's terror is another man's freedom fighter. Um, so, and Hezbollah are very hostile to Israel. They want Palestine to be independent and all the rest of it. I think they really want to annihilate Israel. So, a lot of these Hezbollah militants, they had pagers. Go back to the 90s, before most people had mobiles, there was this thing called pagers. They deliberately didn't use mobile phones because they were too easy to tap and to trace. Um, Thousands of these pages exploded simultaneously a few days ago. Um, so Mostly it just wounded people, but it certainly killed people, and it killed at least one child. And these were pages were held by Hezbollah individuals, or sometimes a Hezbollah organization, as in it's like the duty phone, as it were. And if I go off duty, I hand it to someone else coming on duty, then she gives it back to someone else, and so forth. It's led to dozens of deaths. Was this lawful? Now, Israel would regard Hezbollah as a terrorist organization and say, well, we've got the right of retaliation or preemptive strike or something like that. But Israel doesn't is not recognized by Lebanon, and vice versa. But they're not at war against Lebanon, so this is a huge scale act of premeditated violence against people in Lebanon. So that could be unlawful. Another thing is, it was fairly indiscriminate. Yes, they're mostly Hezbollah fighters who had these things, but you had no control of that situation. It could have been someone else holding it when it blew up. There could be someone else in the room who was killed or injured by that, and so on. So, but possibly illegal, possibly immoral. But I do have to hand to the Israelis, it was very cunning. How do they manage to do this? And with walkie-talkies as well. Israel has Mossad, the Institute of Special Tasks. That's their intelligence organization, using its motto, that verse in the Bible, by subterfuge ye shall do battle. And they appear to have got wind of Hezbollah buying a huge consignment of pages and walkie-talkies from a factory in Hungary some years ago, and somehow they've interfered with it. They've doctored these phones, and they intercept the shipment when it stops at customs for a few days to sort out paperwork, and did they somehow get into those boxes in the warehouse, put explosives in there to then be detonated later on, or do they cause the batteries to overheat? They obviously did it remotely. I mean, when these things blew up, they hadn't been able to tamper with them for months, maybe years before that. So waiting for the propitious moment. Now, Hezbollah is stung with injury, and looks feeble and pathetic. And the Israelis seem to have served them an unplayable return. How does Hezbollah riposte to that? And of course, there's always skirmishing across the border, rocket fire, and so on. So the United Nations is very worried about this. Feels it may broaden the conflict. So they all went off at 15:30 on the 17th. I can't remember which day of the week it was. Was that Monday? A guy was walking around the supermarket, it blew up in his pocket or blew up in his bag and things like that. So emergency services were overwhelmed, and so obviously the Lebanese people are not happy about it. So the pages could contain up to 20 grams of high grade military explosives. They quite often didn't kill people because the explosion is not that big. And the explosion could be concealed within a fake electronic component, and is often at someone's waist height, so it might even emasculate a man, without actually killing him, and so on. So the signal, perhaps an alphanumeric text message, could be the thing which caused the explosives to go off. So the Israelis are the master of these cyber operations. Um, Anyway, we shall see what's going to happen. It's hard to know how they're going to riposte, as they have rockets and missiles and stuff like that. They're really no match for Israeli air defense. Occasionally, a projectile fired by Hezbollah will get through, and it'll kill or wound a few people, but not on any significant scale. As for going across land, I don't think so. The Israelis have pulled some of their troops out of Gaza, and they're armed to the teeth. They're very well trained. They've got state-of-the-art weaponry, not just in terms of small arms, tanks, artillery, just about everything, drone warfare, surveillance. So they're just armed to the teeth because, Israel, they say, is supposed to be in Athens, end up being a Sparta, surrounded by hostile countries. But, they've got normal diplomatic relations with Egypt, with Jordan, who are obviously unhappy to see their co-religionists and their fellow Arabs being slaughtered in Gaza. So it's so dispiriting that here we are, almost a year on, and this is still going on. Huge scale brutality in Gaza, and footage emerged of Israeli soldiers throwing people off the tops of buildings the other day. Now, not all IDF soldiers are bad, but quite a few are. And I know this can bring out the worst in people. If someone you love is killed, you might be furious. You might be lusting for vengeance to say, I don't know which individual did it. Even if I could, I might not find that person, or that man might have been killed, or even woman, but I do know which side did it. So they're bad. They're all bad. So I'll just get back anyone on that side. I want them to feel the pain that I felt. So it brings out the beast in people. But obviously, that's true of Palestinians too. Have the Palestinian not arms? Have the Palestinian not eyes? When you prick them, do they not bleed? When you tickle them, do they not laugh? When they're wrong, will they not revenge? To misquote Shakespeare and Shylock. One of the few heartening things to come out of this is Republic of Ireland. We're taking 30 sick Palestinian children for hospital treatment. So that really is heartwarming and makes me very proud as an Irishman, and proves how the Republic is superior in many ways to most or almost all countries in the world. So, there is a silver lining through the dark cloud shining. But otherwise, this lugubrious situation, this gross injustice, this scar on the conscience of the world continues in Gaza, with Israel acting with impunity, armed and funded by the United States, purchasing arms by other countries, given weapons for free by Germany, the Federal Republic of Germany, guilt tripped about the crimes that finished in 1945. German children today, is their great grandparents were alive at that stage, were adults, and obviously most Germans didn't commit those crimes, and so they shouldn't be penalized generations later. That's racist to say that because somebody of your ethnicity, your nationality did something terrible, you have to pay the price for it forever. No, that's unfair. Anyway, so I'm glad the United Kingdom has affected the rescission of at least a few export licenses for these weapons, which may well be used against civilians. But I don't see any end of this coming very soon. I mean, the Israelis might withdraw by the end of this year. That's about the best that can be hoped for. So there's still unanswered questions about those explosives went off in the Hezbollah devices. So the death toll is at least 37. Now, it's likely that the death toll will rise because some of those who rushed to hospital may well succumb to their injuries in the next few days or even weeks. So some of these things were manufactured by Gold Apollo, a Taiwanese electronics manufacturer. So obviously the Taiwanese company is horrified, saying, "Well, it's got nothing to do with us," and so on. But then there was also BAC Consulting, the Hungarian company that was involved. Now, so it's damaging the reputation of Taiwan. Now, Israel recognizes China. They did not recognize the Republic of China, i.e. Taiwan. So anything that wrecks the reputation of a Taiwanese firm is obviously welcome from Beijing's point of view. So we may never quite get to the bottom of how these attacks were triggered. But I think Hezbollah is going to have great difficulty responding to this on a kind of similar scale. It's very demoralizing for them. Right. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate on PayPal, and freedom for Palestine now, peace for Israel, peace for Palestine, release the hostages, release the prisoners. Okay, goodbye.